The sun is a silent engine. We wake to its light, and we sleep in its absence, usually without giving its physical nature a second thought. To us, it is a constant, a reliable yellow disk in the sky that provides warmth and life. But beneath that calm exterior, there is a chaotic, churning ocean of plasma and magnetic fields that operates on a scale we can barely fathom. Most days, the sun is a quiet neighbor. Today, however, something is different. Deep within the solar atmosphere, a massive rift is opened. 1 billion tons of charged particles have been hurled into the void, and they are currently screaming across the vacuum of space at several million miles per hour. This isn't just another solar event. This particular storm is headed directly for us, and it is arriving at a moment when our planet is uniquely vulnerable. We are approaching a specific point in our orbit, a seasonal alignment that makes our magnetic defenses much softer than usual. Most people go about their day drinking coffee and checking their phones, entirely unaware that the invisible shield protecting our civilization is about to be pressed to its limit. There is no sound in space, so we won't hear it coming. There is no scent of the solar wind, so we won't smell the change in the air. But in the next few hours, the high-tech fabric of our modern world will meet the raw, primordial power of a star in a way we haven't seen in over a century. The timing could not be worse. As the Earth tilts on its axis, a subtle geometry is falling into place. This is a story about the fragile connection between a quiet blue planet and its restless parent star. It is a story about how our reliance on invisible signals and silent currents has made us susceptible to a force we cannot control. We have built a world of glass and silicon, and the sun is about to reach out and touch it. To understand what is happening right now, we have to look closer at the sun than we usually dare. It isn't a solid object. It's a sphere of superheated gas, so hot that atoms are stripped of their electrons, creating a state of matter called plasma. This plasma is in constant motion, boiling like a pot of water on a cosmic scale. Because this plasma is electrically charged, its movement generates massive magnetic fields. These fields aren't neat or orderly. They twist, they tangle, and they knot themselves together as the sun rotates at different speeds at its equator than it does at its poles. Sometimes these magnetic knots become so tight that they snap. When they do, they release a staggering amount of energy. We call these events solar flares. A flare is a sudden flash of light, an explosion of radiation across the entire electromagnetic spectrum. It reaches Earth in 8 minutes, traveling at the speed of light. But while flares are impressive, they aren't the main event. The real concern is what often follows a flare, a coronal mass ejection or a CME. Think of a CME as a giant bubble of magnetic field and solar plasma. While a flare is a flash of light, a CME is a physical cloud of matter. It doesn't travel at the speed of light, but it is still incredibly fast. It can cross the 93 million miles between the sun and the Earth in just a couple of days. As it travels, it expands, growing into a massive wall of charged particles that can be millions of miles wide. When this wall hits our planet, it doesn't just bounce off. It interacts with the Earth's own magnetic field, a process we call a geomagnetic storm. The sun goes through cycles of activity roughly every 11 years. During a solar minimum, the sun is quiet and spotless. But as we move toward a solar maximum, the frequency of these storms increases. We are currently in a period of heightened activity, a time when the sun's magnetic poles are preparing to flip. This means the sun is currently more chaotic and unpredictable than it has been in years. The storm currently racing toward us is a product of this heightened state. It is a concentrated blast of solar energy, aimed precisely at the tiny point in space where Earth happens to be. The physics of this interaction is a delicate dance. Our planet is protected by the magnetosphere, a magnetic bubble created by the liquid iron churning deep inside the Earth's core. This bubble usually deflects the solar wind, funneling it around us like water flowing around a stone in a stream. But the magnetosphere isn't a perfect shield. It has weak points, and it can be breached if the magnetic orientation of the incoming solar storm is just right. If the storm's magnetic field is pointing south and our own field is pointing north, they can peel each other back. This opens a door, allowing billions of tons of solar material to pour into our upper atmosphere. What makes this specific event so concerning isn't just the size of the solar storm. It is the timing. There's a phenomenon known as the Russell-McFerrin effect, a discovery that explains why solar storms are much more effective at certain times of the year. It has to do with the tilt of the Earth's axis relative to the sun's magnetic field. During the equinoxes, which occur in March and September, our planet's magnetic poles are tilted in a way that aligns almost perfectly with the incoming solar wind. During these windows, the cracks in our magnetic shield grow larger. It is as if the door to our atmosphere is left slightly ajar. A storm that might have been a minor event in July or December can become a major disruption in the spring or autumn. We are currently sitting right in that seasonal sweet spot. The geometry of the heavens is aligned against us, making the impact of this incoming CME potentially much more severe than its raw size would suggest. But the vulnerability isn't just in the sky. It's in the ground and the systems we build upon it. Our modern civilization is built on a foundation of long-form conductors. These are our power lines, our transcontinental fiber optic cables, and our pipelines. When a geomagnetic storm hits, it shakes the Earth's magnetic field. This shaking creates a moving magnetic field, and a moving magnetic field creates an electrical current in any conductor finds. This is called a geomagnetically induced current, or a GIC. These currents don't care about our grid's capacity or our delicate electronics. They flow through the ground and find their way into our high-voltage transformers. These transformers are the heart of our power grid, and they are designed to handle high-voltage alternating current. But the currents induced by a solar storm are direct currents, and they can cause a transformer to saturate, overheat, and in extreme cases, melt. These aren't parts you can just buy at a local store. They are massive, custom-built machines that take months or even years to manufacture. If enough of them fail at once, the grid doesn't just blink, it breaks. Up in orbit, the situation is even more precarious. We live in an age where we are dependent on thousands of satellites for everything from GPS navigation to global finance. When a solar storm hits, the Earth's atmosphere actually expands. The upper layers of the air heat up and puff outward, increasing the drag on satellites in low Earth orbit. This can cause them to lose altitude and, in some cases, fall back to Earth prematurely. Furthermore, the high-energy particles in a solar storm can penetrate the delicate shielding of a satellite, flipping bits in its memory and causing what engineers call a phantom command. A satellite might suddenly turn off its thrusters or rotate its antenna away from Earth, becoming a multi-million-dollar piece of space junk in an instant. We often think of our technology as something separate from nature, but in moments like this, we realize how deeply we are still tied to the environment of the solar system. Our digital world is a thin veneer resting on a planet that is constantly being buffeted by the breath of a star. We are moving toward a collision between the 19th century physics of the sun and the 21st century complexity of our daily lives. In the coming hours, we will start to see the first signs of the storm's arrival. The first indication won't be a power outage, but a light show. The aurora borealis and aurora australis, the northern and southern lights, will likely push much further toward the equator than usual. While they are beautiful, they are also a visible manifestation of the energy being dumped into our atmosphere. They are the glow of a planet under pressure. We might notice that our GPS becomes a bit less accurate. A car's navigation system might think it a block away from where it actually is. High-frequency radio communications used by airlines and maritime shipping might go silent for hours at a time as the ionosphere becomes too turbulent to bounce signals. For most people, these will be minor inconveniences, perhaps a strange glitch on a television screen or a drop call. But for the engineers who manage our power grids, the next few hours will be a period of intense vigilance. They will be watching for those induced currents, ready to disconnect parts of the grid to save the transformers. It is a delicate balancing act. Try and keep the lights on while preventing a catastrophic failure of the infrastructure itself. We have been here before, most notably in 1859 during the Carrington event, when telegraph wires hissed with sparks and operators received shocks from their equipment. But in 1859, we didn't have a global internet, a GPS-dependent economy, or a power-dependent water supply. This storm serves as a quiet reminder of our place in the cosmos. We inhabit a small, fragile oasis, protected by invisible forces that we are only beginning to fully understand. We have built a world that is incredibly efficient, but also incredibly sensitive. The sun isn't being malicious. It is simply being a star. It is performing the same nuclear processes it has performed for billions of years, indifferent to the tiny biological creatures orbiting it. As the sun sets and the storm reaches its peak, some of us might look up and see the sky shimmering with ghostly greens and reds. It is a sight that has inspired awe and terror in our ancestors for millennia. Today, it should perhaps inspire a bit of humility. We are travelers on a very small boat, navigating a very large and energetic ocean. The storm will eventually pass, the magnetic field will settle, and the sun will return to its quiet state. But for a brief moment, the veil will be pulled back, and we will see the true scale of the forces that govern our lives. The sun is a silent engine, but every so often, it reminds us just how much power is under the hood. We are lucky to be here, watching the show, shielded by a planet that has been looking out for us since the very beginning. It is a quiet, restless piece, held together by the thin blue line of our atmosphere and the invisible embrace of a magnetic field.